Fiancee, 28 male, wants to end our relationship because I, 27 female, didn't choose him first. I apologize if this seems hasty, but my fiancé, Ryan, who I've been with for 7 years, informed me today that he's not sure if he wants to be with me anymore, and I understand that may seem ridiculous, but I love him so much, it feels like my world is coming apart around me, and I don't know what I can do. This all began a few days ago, while we were celebrating our anniversary. We invited a large group of individuals, including one of my best pals, Ellie. She saw my fiancé's warm behavior toward me and made some idiotic remark about how she told me so that Ryan would be better for me than my ex, Andy. My fiancé was perplexed and asked Ellie what she meant. Andy and Ryan both asked me out to the same event while I was in college. Ryan and I had known each other since high school and had always had a thing, but we weren't a relationship. Furthermore, he attended another institution that was a half-hour drive away from me. Andy came to my college, his dorm was a 5-minute walk away, and he was a total stranger. I started to worry that my relationship with Ryan wouldn't be exciting enough since we already knew so much about one another. Despite Ellie's concerns, I opted to go with Andy despite the fact that we were half an hour apart. I realize my reasoning is completely illogical, but I never imagined that this choice would have the ability to devastate my future. Ryan had already been devastated by my refusal to go on a date with him, and I didn't want to make him feel any worse by informing him that I was going with someone else, not that it mattered because he stopped talking to me for about 6 months. During this time, it became clear that Andy and I were not a good match, so we called it quits. When Ryan and I started chatting again, I realized how much I missed him and how wonderful he was for me, so I asked him out. He was thrilled, and that's how we got here. I could tell he was in a bad mood for the remainder of the party. He continued pulling away from my kisses/touches and responding with one-sentence responses. When I asked him what was wrong after the party, he merely answered he felt nauseous. He remained chilly and aloof for the following 2 days. I had no clue what was going on, so I waited patiently for him to feel at ease enough to tell me. He informed me today why he'd been behaving out. According to the account, I kept him as a backup or plan B in case my relationship with Andy failed, which was extremely screwed up since we'd clearly had emotions for one another for a long time before then. He also said that he was deserving of being someone's first pick. I assumed it was simply insecurity, but he went on to explain that he's not sure he can view our relationship in the same way anymore, and that it would be best if we break up. I begged him not to go that far and suggested that we go to therapy or maybe live apart for a few days while he considers if this is really what he wants. So far, he hasn't said anything except that he is adamantly opposed to going to treatment. I can tell this is weighing hard on him since he's been drinking more than normal, but I'm at a loss for words to make him feel better. We've had a lovely relationship. He's never been conceited or possessive, and although neither of us is perfect, I couldn't ask for a more kind, respectful, intellectual, and charming, soon-to-be, husband. I don't see how all of this may come to an end because of a stupid mistake I did 7 years ago. I'm not sure what I'm seeking for by posting here, but if anybody has any suggestions, please let me know. Update: a few folks have requested for an update, so here it is. It's been a little over 2 weeks, so I'm not sure whether anybody is still interested. For the time being, I'm simply perplexed about what's going on. If anybody has any suggestions or has any clue of what he's thinking, please let me know. After what transpired in the last article, he suggested that we postpone the wedding until we figure out how to continue. Isn't that significant? He said put off instead of cancel and until we determine how to proceed. That suggests he hasn't decided whether or not we should break up yet. Maybe he'll simply decide not to marry and instead keep our friendship going. I don't believe he's ready to end our relationship just yet, but he's moved into a hotel. I know some people have advised me to give him space, but I've determined that even if a part of him wants to be with me, I'm going to do everything in my power to give him another opportunity. I've been dropping him food, placing messages under his door, and contacting him every day, sometimes twice a day. We're both in limbo right now. We mostly speak about how much we miss one another, our goals, and me telling him that he's my soulmate and that no matter what happens with Andy, I know we'd end up together. Then there are times when he calls in the middle of the night, clearly weeping, and asks things like, "What did he have that I didn't? Did you have feelings for him? Was he more comfortable in bed? Was he more attractive than I? Do you still think he's more attractive than me? What exactly does more interesting mean? Do you wish he would have given you another chance?" He says he urgently wants to be with me, but when he thinks about me, he remembers that I was always his first choice, but he will always be my second. It bothers him because we had emotions for one another all through high school, but the minute I met Andy, none of that mattered, implying that I felt Andy was worth my time and he wasn't. It crushes my heart to watch him hold back his emotions and attempt to weep quietly, but I promise I'll do whatever to salvage our relationship. even not concealing anything from him. I've asked him to rethink going to counseling, but he won't budge. Some of our common acquaintances are skeptical that he will recover, but I don't care. He hasn't instructed me to stop trying, so I'm not going to. I beg God to let me go back in time and fix the past because I love him more than anything else, even myself. It's as if I'm in some type of bizarre nightmare. We were arguing in bed less than a month ago over who got to name our children, and now a seemingly small mistake I did 7 years ago might destroy the lovely future I desire with Ryan. All I can do right now is be present and hope that he may reconsider, but I have no idea what he is thinking. I understand that this isn't a typical relationship issue, but if anybody has any advice or simply confidence that things will work out, then please tell me. Edit, he phoned about an hour ago. Some of his friends saw this Reddit thread and presented it to him, so he became enraged, questioning why I would tell strangers about our personal difficulties and how he was meant to face his friends and family now that they all knew the only reason I'm with him is because Andy broke up with me. He realized it wasn't ethical to keep me in the dark for so long without making a choice after reading the comments. He's decided that we should part ways so that I can determine whether it's truly him I want to be with and that he wasn't simply the convenient decision. I'm at a loss for words right now. It's like though I'm so exhausted that I simply want to sleep forever. I realize some of you think he's a bad guy, but this was just a minor part of our relationship and has nothing to do with who he is as a person. He's the man who spent days researching about my major on top of his own academics so he could assist me with test preparation and proofreading my papers. He spent thousands of his own hard-earned dollars to give my parents their dream trip to Australia, and he demanded that I pretend I paid for it so they wouldn't feel terrible receiving money from him. I was frightened that my ex would leave after he threatened to reveal nudes I'd sent him while we were together. He brought me to my favorite restaurant and told me that nothing else could ever change how much he loves me, and then he asked me to marry him so I wouldn't have to worry about him leaving again. My fiancé is the finest guy I've ever known, and the conclusions that everyone here has made based on hearing about such a little portion of our life are horrible. I didn't come here to be convinced that he's immature, insecure, or any of the other things that others have said about him. I should have known better than to publish here, but all I can hope for now is that he notices. I'm not sure what I can say to make this better for my fiancé, and I'm not sure whether you'll be able to recover from it. What I can say is that you are mistaken in believing that I picked you for your convenience. I choose you because you are the most kind, gorgeous, clever, and fascinating guy I've ever met. Every minute we've spent together over the past 7 years, every kiss we've shared, every bagel we've split, and every I love you I've spoken has been for you and is a confirmation that you are and will always be my first choice. I don't think you want to cut our time together short. I believe you were attempting to recover from the repercussions of a mistake I made, and I unwittingly lit a fire under you by pushing you to make a choice by writing this post. Take as much time as you need to do whatever you need to do to recover from this, and I'll be here for you when you're ready to chat. If you decide that this is something we cannot overcome, I will respect your choice. Nevertheless, I am certain that we are stronger than this. I adore you so much. Edit 2, I'm sorry if this is becoming too lengthy, but he saw my open letter and contacted me to say that he's not guaranteeing anything but that he'll listen. He still refuses to attend a therapist because he doesn't believe our relationship is strong enough to be saved right now. However, several individuals here have indicated a desire to offer him direct guidance, and I've persuaded him to speak with others who have gone through this and recovered. If you've had a similar experience, please ask for his throwaway in your answer to this thread or by pinging me. Thank you very much. Story 2. Open relationship turned into cheating, has broken me. I don't know why I'm staying. My wife and I had decided to open up our relationship about a month ago, after she had said that someone of interest had reached out to her. I was initially okay with it but asked that we communicate our respective boundaries and that we end things with the person if either of us was feeling like it was hurting our marriage. What happened shortly afterwards was that she had new relationship energy pretty intensely. She would be texting him nonstop. She made plans to go to the farmer's market with him at one point, on a Saturday. I had agreed to watch our kid. But then she asked if she could go to the bar with him on a Tuesday, so I said, sure, that's a lot in 1 week though, can you please make sure to spend some time with me? She agreed to giving me a special day and off she went. She came back and told me the story, she had made out with him but nothing more. I was okay with that. But then she asked me, can I please stay at his apartment on Friday? I told her no, that I wasn't comfortable with that yet, but may be open to it in the future. She was furious about it, said I wasn't being reasonable, that she could trust me. And I tried to tell her, look, I do trust you, but I do not want to be up late into the night wondering what my wife is up to while watching a 2-year-old. Please respect that. She kept begging and pleading, and I finally relented under a few conditions. She texts me when she's about to go to bed to provide me an update. She texts me in the morning, and she'd be home by 1 p.m. I felt so uneasy about it and said that I didn't like that she was pressing so hard on these things, but she said that it would be okay and she'd make it up to me for doing this for her. The night of the event, she goes over. Texts me at night. Okay, cool. Texts me in the morning. Apparently, they had gotten into a huge fight last night, and had been spending the night and morning basically arguing, making out, and her getting fingered. She tried to fuck him but he wouldn't for some religious hang-up reason. She was super upset, so I asked her if she wanted to come home, to have me pick her up. She said no, that they were working things out, and that she'd be home by 1 p.m. Okay, I believe you. 12:30 p.m. rolls around. I check her location, it's a 15-minute drive home. No worries. 12:45 p.m. rolls around. I check her location again, still at his apartment. I text her, hey, is something up? Do you need me to come pick you up? No response until 12:58 p.m. I'm so sorry, his car battery is acting up. Okay, you didn't think to tell me? Well, I'm sorry, my mom was blowing up my phone wondering why I wasn't at the farmer's market, she never went, and we were still arguing and, just a lot of stuff. I had told her that I was upset with her, that I would have preferred her communicating this ahead of the timeline, and that I could tell she was stressed, so we should talk about that at a later point. She finally comes home at 1:57 p.m. Comes into my arms and starts crying. It's okay, I still love you, I'm here for you. We talk and then it gets to the point where she just starts getting mad at me. I tell her that I think this is hurting us more than it's helping. We're both starting to get stressed out at home and are clashing heavily. She responds back that she's finding in him some affection and affirmation that I haven't been giving her for the last 2 years. I tell her that I've always found her beautiful and have found her more beautiful with each growing day. She says that it's different, because this is a person that isn't her husband, so the compliment means more, that she can just turn her brain off while she's with him. She just wants this one thing for herself. I get upset, and I tell her, you know what, wife's name, at this point, I'm not even asking you to stop talking to him, I just want to know that you would if I asked you to. At this, she blows up and I just start breaking down and crying. The next morning, Sunday, she's coming back from work. We have a phone call and I tell her, hey, listen. I'm sorry about the fight last night. What I was wanting from you was validation, a reminder that I matter to you and that our marriage matters to you. The conversation starts okay enough, but then it takes a nosedive. She starts telling me that she's mad, she's angry with me, that she doesn't understand why this is such a big deal because she's doing everything right. I tell her that the whole thing is making me feel depressed, useless, that I haven't been eating or even sleeping that whole week. She gets more mad. I tell her outright, wife's name, I don't want to be here anymore. Please, let's just stop fighting. And her response is to become even more furious with me. At this point, I start breaking down hard. Full on tears. I tell her that I don't want to be alive anymore and that I need her to go pick up our kids so I can kill myself. She asks if I'm serious, and I say yes, that I need to just drink a big bottle of pills and die. She hangs up and calls the cops to come rushing up to our apartment, and rushes over to us as well. What ends up happening is that I end up going to a psych ward for a suicide attempt, processed for a good week, put on medication, and working on changes for myself. Eventually, I do take responsibility for my suicide attempt and stop blaming my wife. And I learn to value myself again instead of letting her affect me that much. I come home, and everything is weird. She doesn't know if she wants to be married or not anymore. I tell her that we can have a break phase and that she can still keep talking to the guy. She has apparently been talking to him every single day that I was in the ward, even though she was answering every phone call I sent her. She's still texting him. Still talking to him and having phone calls with him. I tell her how much it hurts me, how it guts me. She says that she's sorry, I just ask her to hide it. At this point, I still love her, but I love myself more. I do not trust her and I do not want to ever let her actions and words affect me to that degree ever again. I tell her that I am open either option moving forward. Either we work on things by going to couples counseling and she stops talking to him entirely, or we call it quits and file for separation. She doesn't know. I'm going to give her until January 1st to decide, but I'm so conflicted and hurt. I don't even know why I'm writing this, it just hurts to have given 5 years of my love and affirmation to someone, to have a child with them, to make a sacred promise to always take care of them. Only for them to choose another person over me.